This is our first summit for 2024. This is our 16th year of operation and our 4th year of doing summits. And as always, we pick topics that we feel like are so important to our community and us. So it would make sense for us to tap into Black maternity, which is a place that's near and dear to my heart, as I'm a Black mom of 2 healthy boys. And so without further ado, we'll introduce our first guest, Tia Jackson Bey, MD. MPH is a board-certified reproductive endocrinologist and infertility specialist and obstetrician gynecologist who cares for patients at RMA of New York's Brooklyn office. Dr. Jackson Bey is passionate about reproductive justice and increasing access to fertility care for all. Dr. Jackson Bey is a talented surgeon and dedicated infertility expert who is focused on fertility preservation, IVF success, and great outcomes for her patients. Welcome, Dr. Tia.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Tell us a little bit about what is reproductive endocrinology. What exactly is that, and what does it mean?
What reproductive endocrinologists and infertility specialists do is we are trained both in obstetrics and gynecology, and then we complete additional training, particularly in infertility care. And so this spans everything that could affect your fertility, conditions ranging from things like PCOS, PCOS to cancer, uterine fibroids, all of these different things that could impact your fertility, to couples and individuals who are trying for pregnancy and not achieving success. And so I would say that that is probably the mainstay of the people that we see are people who are actively trying but not had a pregnancy yet or not had a successful birth. But there's a growing population of people who are either just curious about their fertility, want to know more, want to understand how different medical conditions or surgeries or past events can affect their future fertility. And then also people who are interested in preserving their fertility. We're going to hear a lot about egg freezing and things like IVF, which is gaining in popularity as a way to kind of have more options down the road.
Can you tell us what is infertility? What's the definition of it? What's the causes behind it? What's treatments that we can use for it?
Infertility, by a kind of a strict definition, is if you have been trying with intercourse to achieve a pregnancy and have not achieved a pregnancy in 1 year. So 1 year is the equivalent for most women of about 12 periods, because we may get 1 period a month. If for some reason you don't get periods regularly, then that 1 year goes out the window because we can't gauge it the same and we need to see you sooner. So if you're someone who doesn't get periods every month, you get periods every 2 months or every 6 months or not at all, then we need to see you right away. For women over age 35 or 35 and older, I should say, you may experience more challenges than women who are younger than 35. And for that reason, we also don't say, hey, you can wait a year. At 6 months of trying without success, we want to see you in the office because there may be other kind of roadblocks that we want to investigate sooner. So again, strict definition is infertility trying with 1 year without success. For women age 35 or older, that's 6 months. But again, if you're single, if you're in a same-sex relationship, if you've had prior medical history of things like cancer or surgery on your reproductive organs, or conditions like endometriosis, PCOS, early menopause, or anything that could affect sperm, then we want to see you right away. You do not have to wait. You don't have to quantify any certain number of months or years before you come in.
What's the skinny on freezing our eggs for the future?
So the reason that most people would use what we call fertility preservation, and one of the most common ways of preserving your fertility is by freezing eggs. One of the most common reasons people would use that is because they know that they want children in the future, but they're not ready for children at that time. A lot of what we learned about how to do egg freezing came from treating women with IVF. Women who either, did not respond to lesser fertility treatments, or maybe they don't have fallopian tubes or their fallopian tubes are blocked. And even couples where there's a significant issue with the sperm, we had to find a way for sperm and egg to meet, and that was outside of the body. And that's this process of what we call in vitro fertilization. But in doing that, we perfected techniques that helped us to say, hey, what about people who don't have a partner or who don't have time to go through all of the steps? What if we just froze the eggs, and what would those outcomes be like? And over time, we've been able to have really good success from going through very similar process for IVF, but then instead of using a single sperm to go into each egg to make an embryo, which is kind of the first earliest portion of pregnancy, we freeze the eggs and they stay frozen. They can stay frozen for years. And then in the future, if you need them due to an infertility diagnosis, or you've been treated with cancer and now you no longer have your ovaries, or if you're older age, you could go back and use those eggs to create a pregnancy. What egg freezing does is it can, attempt to get you that extra time, because as we're getting older, as the world changes around us and our body changes and all sorts of things, your chances of achieving a pregnancy may be impacted. One, because the number of eggs that we have does decrease with age. That is an absolute fact. But also the quality of your eggs changes with age and time and exposure to different substances. By freezing eggs that are younger, you may have, a different way to kind of boost your chances for success in the future. So, for a lot of people that are interested in exploring something like that, know that it is safe. Once upon a time, we didn't have enough information from it to say, like, is this something that we can offer to everyone, or is this just special circumstances? In 2012, we said, no, this can be offered to anyone who wants it. It doesn't have to be special circumstances. And so that means that in order to get to that point, we had to prove that it's safety and you could have good outcomes. So it is a safe procedure. Like anything, it's not without risk. It's not a very long process. It takes about 2 weeks to, from when you start taking the medication to when the eggs are removed from your body and frozen. It is not often covered by insurance. And so that can be a big misconception. Sometimes people say, oh, I'm here, I'm ready for my egg freezing, I have good insurance. But there's a lot of fine print in terms of what's covered, what's not covered, depending on what state you live in, what your employer is, if you get your insurance through like a program where you're paying for your own insurance versus if you're getting it from your job, things like that. The last thing is it's not a guarantee. So you can't come back when you're 65 and say, hey, I'm ready now. We have to take all things into consideration. And that's something that we would talk about, when we see you in the office for something like a egg freezing or fertility preservation consultation. I would say for most people, a round figure is about $10,000. And that may include the services. There may be some places the medication's included. Some places the medication is actually an extra fee. Sometimes medication is covered by your health insurance, sometimes it's not. And so usually I don't want people to get deterred by the cost, because if there's a desire or a curiosity, I'd much rather you come in, let's talk about it. Let's see what your current state of kind of fertility is. Let's see what your family building plans are. And we can talk about it kind of comprehensively and then decide what might be the best option for you. Like anything else in this life, there's, financing, or people save, or people use, different credit and things like that as ways to kind of finance this if it's really important to them.